As I begin this video, I gotta let you guys know I am starving right now. It's probably about 11 something in the morning, and man, what have I consumed today? I did my workout first thing this morning. I'm on week number 4 of the workout. I had this protein shake thing first thing this morning after my workout, and then I ate a pickle, 2 strawberries, and 3 slices of turkey. But this big boy be growing, and ain't losing no weight. 270 is what I weigh, but I'm ripping this shit up. At least I'm trying to. Anyways, the whole point of that is I was starving earlier this morning, and I went to the grocery store to stock up on carrots and such. And man, I was starving in there. But the more important thing is, footnote to no relevance of this video, but just wanted to share this with you guys. You know, I still am not all that comfortable grocery shopping. Maybe others aren't as well. Maybe it's an anxiety type of a thing, but you know, I think about my life prior to going to prison. I never really ever grocery shopped. I was such a immature person. Like I ate McDonald's every day or some shit. But I share all of this with you guys because grocery shopping, still something that I'm struggling with after prison. And I'm reminded of that because I do got a video that I'm planning to film upcoming about the things that you struggle most with while serving time. And then I also want to do, you know, things that you can struggle with after prison that you wouldn't even think about, like grocery shopping. Perfect example. I'm going down the aisle. There's this lady, like I'm kind of like, you know, in the middle of the aisle, but I was in the aisle by myself. It was, you know, morning time. Only people grocery shopping are moms and grandmas. I'm kind of in the middle of the aisle. She breaks the corner. She's coming down. I see her. I move my cart over. Excuse me, ma'am. Sorry about that. This lady got the nerve to turn her nose up at me like I'm in her way. Oh, joint almost turned into a road rage incident like, hey, yo, who the fuck you turning your nose up at? Barbara Walters? Who you turning your nose up at? I said, excuse me, it was my fault, but clearly now it's your fault. Anyways. Nothing to do with what I want to share with you guys here today. It was in a recent video where I had mentioned coming home from prison and starting to do Paint Night with Joe events. And folks, today I want to share that story with y'all because it's crazy. So yeah, let's go ahead and get up into that. For anybody who may not know, while I was incarcerated, art was super important to me. I drew cartoons, I drew caricatures, and I even became a mural painter, painting pretty little pictures all over the prison while serving time. While serving time and having art so important to me as a way to cope and to help get through the time, I had always hoped that when I came home from prison, I would be able to put my very moderate, if even subpar artistic abilities to good use. And again, while serving time, you create all of these plans and ideas and dreams and pipe dreams. And, you know, I had a lot of plans in relation to art. One such being, maybe I could come home and do paint night events. Now, mind you, we're talking about 2015. The end of 2015, October, when I would be released. At this point, paint night events they're happening. They're taking place. And at this point, paint night is actually a pretty popular type of thing to do. I'm seeing it in magazines. I'm seeing a lot of it while serving time that's letting me know just how popular it is out in the free world. Paint Night was actually a huge brand. I think it was out of North Carolina, as a matter of fact. So whether I was going to come home and try to get on with Paint Night or do my own thing, I knew that I wanted to be a part of it some kind of a way. When I came home from prison, obviously, I am ripping and running, you know, going in a million different directions, thinking about trying to get my life back on track, trying to find a job, trying to find a better job, trying to find a good job, trying to use my artistic abilities for some sort of good and for some kind of profit as well. Thinking about After Prison Show, again, I'm just getting, you know, I got a lot of things I'm trying to accomplish in a short amount of time. Trying to make up for lost time is another way to say it. But the short of it is I really had no idea how to go about trying to pursue anything with Paint Night. I figured the best way to go about it would be to try to find businesses, restaurants, bars that were already hosting Paint Night events and maybe try to talk with somebody there. And eventually I would get the opportunity to do that. But that would come farther down the road. Initially, I remember getting released, getting on Facebook, learning social media for the first time. Before I went to prison, there was YouTube. I remember watching like felony fights on YouTube before going to prison. And there was MySpace. And Facebook was just coming out, and I didn't know a damn thing about Facebook. Facebook came out in 2008, maybe 2007. Now, I didn't know shit about social media. So I come home from prison October of 2015, and I'm trying to learn social media because I know for anything that I want to be able to do, job, YouTube, create an after prison show, art, paint nights, social media is probably going to be the way to go about trying to make that happen. And I remember very early on trying to use social media in some form or fashion for my art. I remember trying to solicit sales for caricatures, whether through like Facebook Marketplace or these yard sale Facebook groups. And I would actually make a couple of sales and be able to draw some caricatures for some people. So Facebook, even very early on, was already proving to be beneficial for what I was hopeful of being able to accomplish after prison. But it's so important to mention Facebook because it was there where I'm able to reconnect with people that I know I probably should steer clear of, and other people who would actually end up being very good people in my life, and people who contributed, even if it was just in some small form or fashion, or maybe in a huge form or fashion, to me staying on the straight and narrow and focusing on the objectives. Find success, whatever that success is going to be after prison. We ain't going back to prison no more. We already did that twice, Joe. No more. Through Facebook, I would get in contact with the most unlikely of people. This would be the girlfriend of a best friend of my younger brother. And in fact, at this point, it was my younger brother's best friend's wife, a woman by the name of Ashley. And Ashley, if you ever get a chance to see this video, I ought to send you this video because I still keep in contact with you on Facebook from time to time. Your husband does HVAC work. Your husband has actually helped me with some HVAC on houses in the past. So Ashley and Brian, a very special show. I run another Brian. This was and this is actually Brian number 4 or 5. I can't remember. Ashley actually managed or owned an establishment, a restaurant, if you will. And no disrespect to Ashley, but it was a dive bar. It really was. As much as Ashley tried to keep this place running on the up and up, it just would not end up being that. And that was sad because I think that this establishment and this bar was actually like kind of passed down to Ashley from somebody in her family. But Ashley and me would get into contact some kind of way via Facebook because of the art. I remember actually creating a painting for her and her husband Brian for Christmas one year, 2015 as a matter of fact, because I was just coming home right then. Me and Ashley would begin speaking on Facebook. I would find out that she owns and manages a bar named the Ponderosa. The Pondo Bar and Lounge. Long named the Ponderosa, which again has since closed. I think it actually got shut down, sadly enough. I've actually pulled it up right here on my phone, and the crazy thing about it is you see this building right beside it, which says Seafood Cook to Carry Out, and then you see this sign right here, it says Professional Contractors Club Incorporated. This was the Ponderosa. And this would actually be where old Joe, freshly home from prison, would get the opportunity to begin doing paint night with Joe events. Just a real interesting part of town, to say the least. Now, mind you, I come home from prison and I'm living in downtown Bad News. Interestingly enough, hey, flip number 4 is out there as well. So we're going back to the roots. We're not forgetting where we came from. The Ponderosa was in downtown Newport News. It was, I guess, conveniently located pretty close to where I was living. I wasn't living in the greatest area at all. The Ponderosa was definitely not in a good area neither. And again, when you think about a seedy little dive bar, which this damn thing, it's not even here anymore. All you can see is just this little outskirt of a building. And you can see that it's freaking boarded up. And you know, it's got 2 2x4s blocking the entry to it. You just got to imagine. There ain't even no windows in this place. This joint was bad news for real. And again, that's so unfortunate because, Ashley gets this bar. She's trying to make a mountain out of a molehill with this thing, turn this thing into something. They had good food in here. They had good people who worked in here. But the crowd that they attracted, I mean, it was just bad news all the way around the board. But again, back in 2015, early 2016, Joe was getting the opportunity. Why am I talking in third person? I was getting the opportunity to carry out my very first ever events of any kind, a paint night with Joe event. I remember speaking with Ashley about the potential of trying to bring in some positivity to this establishment because I remember she was telling me, hey, we get some riffraff up in here. I'll never forget seeing exactly what the riffraff was going into this place. I show these pictures right here just to kind of showcase the dark and grungy look that this place has, but this doesn't even do it full justice. I remember going into the bathroom at this place, seeing a dude in there, stumbling up out of there, as I'm getting ready to be setting up for a paint night event, and I'm just like, this shit the trap for real. But here we are. We've got an opportunity. Let's make the most of it. That's what I would try to do. You got people getting high in the bathrooms. You got people getting shot at this place. You got drug deals taking place here. I'm just looking at the pictures. And I'm like, oh my God, people sleeping at the bar like shit was wild in here, right? I want to show you this food though real quick. I ran across this picture. The joint looks like a tray straight from prison. Now, mind you, they had great food in here, but we got the chicken leg quarter with the potato salad with the devil's egg in that joint, and we got I don't even know what that is. That shit looked like some boiled cabbage right there. This shit looks straight like a Sunday tray in the jail or prison. Damn sure do, but that shit was delicious. I thought that I saved the review that I read from this place. The reviews were not good neither. People mentioning that, there were drug dealers hanging out here, strippers hanging out. It's a fucking dive bar. What do you expect? And just sadly enough, the damn thing was located in downtown Newport News. So while speaking with Ashley, she gives me the opportunity to come in here and host a paint night with Joe event. I can barely even paint. Let's just call it what it is. I'm not that talented of an artist at all. But I do got a little bit of charisma about myself. I do know how to put on a decent show. And if for nothing else, whether you're getting like some top-notch painting tutorial from a master in the field, you certainly weren't getting that. Not from me, at least. You was getting an experience. For anybody who got a chance to go to these 4 or 3 or 5, however many of these paint night events that I did, they were a hell of a show. I'm up there trying to keep this thing going for about 2 hours. I think these events would last for. Trying to talk myself off of the cliff and through the anxiety that I was dealing with. If I think back to when I first came home that very first day, walking up into the bank, getting that cold sweat, feeling like I'm having a panic attack because I feel like it's all eyes on me. They looking at me like I'm going to rob the place. That's how I'm feeling. Then going into Walmart and experiencing the same damn thing, like the cold chills and just the feeling so out of place. Coming home from prison was a motherfucker. Then 3 or 4 months later, here I am standing on a stage. Hey, what's going on, everybody? How are you? Thank you for coming out and welcome to Paint Night with Joe. Today I'm going to learn you how to paint. And we're going to have some fun for about 2 hours. Bartender, hey, bring me the whole bottle. The whole bottle. The whole bottle of the Fireball. Just put that joint right on the stage for me. I'm going to need it. I do remember brief moments doing the paint nights. As I'm knee deep into it or getting closer to the end, or maybe I tell a joke and people are laughing. Oh, God, he's funny. Where I was kind of feeling it. Feeling like, a little bit of a star. A little bit of a rock star standing up there. Now, you did have the real rock stars who were in the bar as well, but they usually just hung out in the bathroom or in the parking lot up underneath your car trying to get that cat back up off of it. But that was a joke. I hope you found some humor in that. Circling back to the beginning, talking with Ashley about how to do this thing, I would put together tickets for this event. Now, I think these tickets were like literally just written on a piece of paper, paint night with Joe $25. $25 was a decent price to pay for a 2-hour stand-up show where you got to interact with the show, meaning doing the paint night thing. But you got to imagine my overhead was, a little bit as well here. Because I got to provide all the canvases, the paints, the paint brushes. And let me tell you something. If you know anything about art supplies, that shit's not cheap. So I'm charging $25 a ticket. I'm probably spending about $100 in materials for these shows. And I remember my turnout was usually less than 20 people. I think the first time I had like 16 people. Actually, I know because I just read that. I had like 16 people show up to it. Matter of fact, here's a couple of pictures from one of the paint night events. If any of y'all want to count how many people are in those pictures right there. This was my turnout right here. And you can see through this grainy track phone camera quality right here. This joint's got like 0.7 pixels. Everybody had a good time at these events. Here's a picture of us set up, ready to go. In the background, there's actually Levi. Interesting to note right there. Levi was around during this time as well. He would actually try to film these events. I remember we did have some videos of these, and I had a Facebook page, Paint Night with Joe on Facebook, but for whatever reason, that page got deleted. I don't know why. Maybe from inactivity or something like that. I can't remember why I would actually delete it, unless maybe people were reaching out to me and I just wasn't hosting those events anymore. 16 people times 25. $400 minus $100 for materials minus $100 for Levi. I'm walking home with $200. Now, Ashley would let me host these events there for free because, people would hopefully be buying drinks and food while there as well. But to be making $200 for 2 hours of work back in 2015, early 2016, after 7 years in prison, all the while working at the temp service, making like $7.50 to $9 an hour on average. Yo, to be making $100 an hour, boy, you couldn't tell me nothing. I wanted to do this shit every single night, but it just wasn't logistical. Logistically, it just wasn't meant to be. Like I said, I probably did these paint night events like 3-4 times, maybe 5. Couple of things that stood out to me. I'll never forget this one time. We did a paint night event. Here I am on the stage. I've got these people in here. And you got families coming in here. Mothers bringing their kids in here. People were like Ashley's friends and people who, good people who knew the Pondo. And then people who I was meeting from Facebook, they would want to come to these events. So I remember this one time, I'm just getting ready to get started with this thing, or maybe we had just gotten started with it, and somebody comes in there and just cranks the jukebox up to some straight trap music, and I'm like, damn, man, we're trying to do this paint night event, and they just hit the jukebox and start carrying on. Hey, yo, yeah, I got that. Hey, you still in the bathroom? You ain't nod out, did you? You got that catalytic converter for that Cadillac I've been needing? Yeah, I got you that 16th waiting on you. Just be in the parking lot. Shit like that, man. And there wasn't nothing I could do about it. I'm on the stage. I'm the talent. Didn't have no security at this spot, which I thought was another crazy damn thing. But we just had to try to make do. They're selling drugs. Make sure you paint some happy little clouds now. From that event to the next event, the turnout was not good. Not good at all. I think there was 10 people who showed up for the very last event. And I figured, hey, if 10 people showed up for this one, the next time it's probably going to be none. And that was a fear that I didn't even want to go through. And thank God I wouldn't have to experience that because shit would get shut down prior. Actually, I should say, unfortunately, the place would get shut down before any would-be experience like that could be had. Another thing that I remember from this was trying to tell people about these events, trying to sell them on coming to the event. A lot of times I couldn't sell them on the event. Yeah, they wanted to come to a paint night event, but they wasn't coming to the Pondo. Downtown Newport News where the Ponderosa at? Yeah, I looked that shit up. Y'all right off of Jefferson. There were people who would just not want to come because of where this place was at. And imagine Ashley trying to run a business here. She probably experienced that more than anything, which, that sucks. That sucks as a business owner, especially when a business just gets dropped in your lap and you're, hey, make this joint work or, lose everything. Sadly, Ashley would end up losing quite a bit when that place got shut down, but, she is doing a lot better now. But God bless it, man. I don't think there was any saving that place. And I'm pretty sure this event that I'm getting ready to tell you about is what was the final huckleberry for the Ponderosa. By this point, I'm already working at my concrete pouring job. When I remember hearing this story, I can't remember if it was Ashley who told me about it or if I just saw it on the news, but I remember something about somebody getting shot in the chest in the parking lot with a shotgun. Now, I realize after brushing up on this story, I've got the facts a little bit wrong, but trust me when I tell you the story of what happened to this place. Well, it's probably not all that shocking, to be honest. Actually, scratch that. I just pulled it up on my phone. There were 2 different shootings that took place about a year apart, and I'm pretty sure it was the second shooting that would be what shut this place down. But the first shooting took place literally right during the time when I was doing these paint night events, and I remember that it was this event right here that just had me saying, the Pondo just ain't gonna be it for hosting no paint night events. But the headline of this story says, I'm having trouble pulling up the story because these damn newspaper websites always want you to pay for shit saying you've reached your max free viewings. Son of a bitch. Well, I can't pull up the first story. The first story took place in February of 2016. There was a man who was shot in the chest in the parking lot while talking on a cell phone. It happened at 2 a.m. And the story would just say they were looking for the suspect. They didn't know who did it. It was that shooting right there. I don't know if he was shot with a shotgun or what he was shot with, but I think I remember hearing that it was a shotgun he got shot with. It was that story right there, and he had life-threatening injuries. I don't know if he died from that. It made me realize, hey, the Pondo ain't it, Chief. My last event, I had 10 people show up to it. The next one, especially after that, they weren't coming no more. Fast forward a year later, this story right here would take place. I literally just ran across this one this morning. The headline of this says, Commonwealth's attorney reports into Pondo Cafe shooting. Now, this shooting took place in 2017, and the details surrounding this shooting are a hell of a lot more intricate because basically it would be this Commonwealth's attorney report saying, hey, the police officer who shot was justified in this shooting. But to give you a quick synopsis of this, because this story is long as shit, I'll link it down below so you can read it. There's a lot of interesting components to this. Well, now I can't pull up that story. I'm still going to link it down below. You'll be able to read it. There were these 2 guys. One of the guys was a friend of the bartender, or the bartender and the bartender's husband, something like that. They went out and scored. I mean, the story says that. They came back to the bar. The bar was closed. It was after 2 o'clock in the morning. They were both let in through the back door. Now, only one of the guys was known. But because the other guy was with them, they were both let into the bar, and they had a drink after hours. I don't know if it was the shooting or if it was the serving alcohol after hours that got this place shut down, but it was probably the shooting. But it was probably both to some degree. These 2 guys are in there. There's no issues at all. When the workers of the bar, the wife and the husband, are leaving, they're all leaving together. All of a sudden, one of the guys just snaps. Snaps, starts screaming, pulls out a gun, and just starts shooting. Now, the woman runs back into the bar. I don't know if her husband was even there. Maybe he was or wasn't. I don't remember. The woman runs back into the bar and hides inside of the bar. She's on the phone with the police. Somebody gets shot during all of this crazy shooting, and maybe it was the friend of the guy. So I think everybody was back in the bar. The woman is on the phone with 911 telling them, yo, you gotta come. They come, but it's a barricade situation. Everybody's back inside. The dude who is wigging out, shooting, he's inside. The guy who's gotten shot, he's inside. And the woman on the phone with 911, she's inside too, saying, hey, you gotta come in here. Dude's bleeding out right now. Meanwhile, police show up, SWAT team shows up, and they hear gunshots coming from inside the place. They would finally enter, realizing that, they had to. It's a life or death situation. SWAT would enter. They see dude darting from behind a bathroom door to behind the bar. And, hey, SWAT right there. See dude square up with SWAT. He starts to draw, and they shoot him 3 times in the chest, and they kill him. The other dude's rushed to the hospital. I think he lived, and the woman, she escaped with no injuries. It was later reported after a toxicology report, the dude was high as fuck on the bath salts. Yeah, they'll probably do it every time. Now, they mentioned that he went and scored. I don't know where you score the bath salts from. Bed Bath & Beyond? I had to throw it in there, right? I've never met a drug dealer, and I mean, hey, I've been out of the game for a long time, but are there drug dealers that sell bath salts? And isn't bath salts like the shit, like the Epsom salt? Like, I don't necessarily, you can get a whole bag of that shit from Walmart. I don't honestly know what, the deal is with the bath salts, but I know they're bad salts. And I know they'll make you wig the fuck out, probably like the K2, the Waco, or the Spice. 2 shootings in a year, serving alcohol after hours. And mind you, Ashley's not working the late night shift. She's got people who are working that, and the place got shut down. It was sad to see, because here's a person who gave me an opportunity to try to bring something creative and positive to a place that just weren't trying to, paint night. Paint night, bitch, I'm looking for some dog food. I don't care about no acrylic paints. Can you intravenously enjoy those? Paint night with Joe. What an experience. I mentioned at the beginning of this story that I would run across actual paint night. I was at another bar for a poker night one night. And they were getting done with the poker was taking place, but then they were setting up for paint night as well. So I got a chance to talk to one of these paint night folks and hear about like what they did. And I was trying to, get information. Hey, I'd like to get involved in this. And I remember they gave me some information on how to do so. I remember I even went as far as to make the phone call, but I can't remember anything else about that. And I'm pretty sure the reason is I just said, I ain't got time for it. I'm working the concrete pouring job. And I gave paint night a try. There were only 3 or 4 events that took place. If you got an opportunity to come rock with Joe during paint night with him, that was a priceless endeavor. I mean, it truly was. We had a lot of fun during those nights, and it's a situation that I'm glad I got to experience. I still deal with anxiety these days. I can't say that, doing these paint night events and getting in front of a crowd of people and trying to pretend like the entire audience is naked, you can't do that because some of them were children, okay? Because that would just be fucked up. You know what they say about like trying to perform on a stage? Just think about the entire crowd like they naked. Dog, we're at a Chuck E. Cheese. Like is that what you do? Bing! It did not help me with the anxiety at all, but it at least gave me an opportunity to begin to work with and through the shit that I still continue to deal with to this very day. And that's it. That's the story of the paint night events and how crazy all of that was. Folks, that's all I got on that, and I hope this was a story that you guys enjoyed. If it was, hey, leave a like and a comment on this video letting me know exactly what you thought about this. And as always, until next time, enjoy life, the free world. Never take a moment for granted, and make the most of every day. Peace!